We are 86b, third line. And we had two opinions about a deaf mute, a deranged or a minor, who, when it comes to both, we said, slaughtering the animal and its child on the same day, and the mitzvah of covering the blood, if nobody saw them slaughter. So now there's a debate. The rabbis say you have to, it's a doubt. Maybe it was a good shechita. Then you have to not let him slaughter the second animal and obligated in covering the blood. Rav Meir said that it is 100% a nevela. It's 100% just a carcass, and it was definitely not a good slaughtering. And we explained at the end of yesterday because he says most of their acts are not proper, they're not valid acts, and therefore, so here there's not a good shechita. So two opinions: if they slaughter on their own, is that considered good slaughtering? Practical difference being, do you have to be worried about the next animal for the prohibition, and are you obligated in the covering of the blood? Okay. Says the Gemara, Hore Rebbe. So Rebbe, Hore Rebbe Kirev Meir, the Hore Rebbe Kichachamim. At one point, Rebbe said halachas like Rav Meir. At one point, Rebbe said halachas like the Chachamim. So, which one is it? So, the Gemara asks, Hey minayu de achrisa. Which one did he say last? The one that he said last is the one that he concludes with. So, if in one on January he would say halachas like Rav Meir, but then in February he would say halachas like the Chachamim, you'd go with the latter. So now let's see. Interesting story. Tashma, Rabbi Abba, Braid Rabbi Chia bar Abba. So Rabbi Abba, the son of Rabbi Chia bar Abba, probably named after his grandfather, Rabbi Zera, and Rabbi Zera, Avukaimi Bishuka de Caesarea. They were in the marketplace of Caesarea, of Caesarea, and they were outside a Pischa de Bei Midrasha. They were right outside the base medrash, the study hall, which I guess was maybe next to the marketplace in Caesarea. So Nafak Rabbi Ami went out of the study hall, and he saw these two greats outside Eshkechinu, and he found them. Amar Lahu, he said, "What are you doing outside? Did I not tell you? Lava Mina Lahu, but Eden Beim at the time that they're studying going on, but Eden Beim Midrasha Lo Takimu Avrai. You can't be standing outside. That's not fair to everyone else." So what does that mean? You two are standing outside, and what if someone has a question inside? Who are they going to ask? They're going to ask you, but you're nowhere to be found. You're standing outside. You can get back in. So v'asi li'itrude. So it's going to cause them. It's going to be a burden for them. They're not going to have clarity in their learning. There's no one to ask questions to. You got to come in. Rabbi Zera. So now, Rabbi Zera all, Rabbi Abelo all. Out of the two of them, the coffee is brewing. Brewing. Oh, okay. Morning. Yeah, I made a lot of cups. The Bachman got in late last night. The Bachman got late last night, and I also want coffee. And you want coffee. I just made like 12 cups. Oh, and I have a meeting with Sir at 11. That's another 2 cups. So before and during. So okay. So, no, but the camera's in the colo. We saw him going into my car with it. So keep looking. So Rabbi Zera all, Rabbi Abelo all. Rabbi Zera, he entered into the study hall. Rabbi Abelo all, he didn't. So, and in what were they talking about? Yasvi v'kami bailahu. They were coming and they were asking, Hey minayu achrisa. Which one did Rebbe say that we go like last? Did Rebbe say we go like Rabbi Meir last or like Chachamim last? So Amar Lahu Rabbi Zera, lo shavkisun li the Ishaila l'Saba. The Rabbi Zera says you didn't allow me to go and ask l'Saba Yeah, this question that was asked is, I didn't realize that you guys were asking this question, because this question is really a question for Rabbi Abba, who's outside, because he would know the answer. Why? Because Dilma Shmiya me Avua. Maybe he heard from his father, the Avua minei de Rabbi Yochanan, and his father from Rabbi Yochanan. Now, so once again, Rabbi Zeir and Rabbi Chia were outside the base medrash. They were told, listen, you can't be outside. Someone's got a question, I'm going to have to ask you. Rabbi Zeir entered, and he heard that they were just discussing this question, the question of what did Rabbi say, who did Rabbi go like? Which one did he say the halacha is like last? And he says, "Oi, this is a question for Rabbi Abba, because he could have asked his father in the name of Rabbi Yochanan, because Rabbi Chia bar Abba, what would he do? Kol tlatin yomin kamahader Talmuda kamed Rabbi Yochanan. He reviewed his learning every 30 days, all of his learning, in front of Rabbi Yochanan, and therefore we could have heard from him. He would have known who we go like. Did Rabbi say like Rabbi Meir, or did Rabbi say like the Chachamim? So really, this was a question for Rabbi Abba, who's still outside, because his grandfather reviewed his learning in front of Rabbi Yochanan, and he would have known the answer to this question. So says the Gemara, okay, Ma'i Havi Allah. What was the conclusion? How did Rabbi go like? Do we go like Rabbi Meir, that the child slaughtering when no one's watching is no good, or like the Chachamim, that it is good? So Tashma, the Shalach Rabbi Lazar Legola, he sent this question to the exile. Hora Rebbe Rav Meir. He sent that Rebbe held like Rav Meir. The Hakarban Nami Ori, but he also is on the books that's saying that we go like the rabbis. Of course, we knew that he said both of the statements, but the point is that he said Rav Meir last, which means that that's his final opinion, and therefore, according to Rebbe, the halacha is going to be like Rav Meir, that his slaughtering on his own is 100% not a good slaughtering, and therefore you are allowed to slaughter the second animal, and you're also obligated to cover the blood. Yeah. Okay. Now you're having too much fun with Chulin, so you decide to shachat mea chayos, to slaughter 100 wild animals. It's just too much fun. So no, really, probably because you have to slaughter for the masses. You're running a business. So shachat mea chayos, you slaughter 100 wild animals. B'makom echad. So the question is, you did 100 slaughterings. How many covering bloods do you do? So 1 or 100? Says the Gemara 1. So we do shachat mea chayos b'makom echad, kisui echad lekulan. 1 covering the blood for all of them. Mea ofos, 100 birds. B'makom echad, in one place. Kisui echad lekulan. You do 1 covering the blood for all of them. Chaya ve'of b'makom echad. You're slaughtering both wild animals and birds in one place. So you would have thought maybe separate for the wild animal and separate for the bird. Nope. Kisui echad lekulan, 1 covering for all of them. Rabbi Yehuda argues. Rabbi Yehuda Omer, shochet chayei chesenav achar yishchot eso. First, after you slaughtered the wild animal, you cover the blood, and then and only then do you slaughter the bird. He holds it's different. Separate obligation for the bird and for the wild animal. We'll see it because of a verse. So, Tana Rabbanan says the Brisa Chaya. It says Chaya in the Torah, wild animal. So Chaya, Kol Mashma. It refers to all. Chaya bein Meruba, bein Muetes. Many wild animals, a few wild animals. Chaya. They're all included. So when you slaughter even a lot of them, you do 1 covering of the blood. Oaf says a bird. A bird means kol mashma. Oaf bein meruba bein muat. Whether you slaughtered many birds, only a few birds. Mikan amru shachat mea chayos makom echad kisu echad lekulan mea ofos b'makom echad kisu echad lekulan chayav oaf makom echad kisu echad lekulan. Rabbi Yehuda Omer shachayav yichasenav achar kishchan yishchot es haof. So just repeating really what the Mishnah is saying, the price is expanding a little bit. Even 100 wild animals, 1 covering the blood. 100 birds, 1 covering the blood. birds and wild animals, one covering in the blood? Rabbi Yehuda says no. Wild animals and birds, each one has, each category has to have their own covering in the blood. Rabbi Yehuda agrees that if you do 100 birds, it's only one covering. He agrees if it's 100 wild animals, only one covering in the blood. He disagrees if you do wild animals and birds, that one will suffice for both. Each one needs its own. Now, it's not necessarily a logical debate. It's more of he has a verse in the Torah like that. Rabbi Yehuda Omer, Shenamar Chaya O. So that word O, he understands, divides it up. You have Chaya O. So was one obligation for the wild animal and one obligation for the bird. To that, the rabbis respond in a cryptic statement, Amrulo, but Hareu Omer, Ki Nefesh Kol Basar Damo Benafshahu. So they quote a verse that you should know that it says, you should Kol Basar Losa. The time about a live animal, it says, Dam Kol Basar Losa, you shouldn't eat the blood of the animal. Ki Nefesh Kol Basar, because the soul of the animal, Damo he, so and Kol Ochel Vikares. That as long as it's getting life, has blood, and therefore, if you would eat the blood of the live animal, then you get kares. So the question is, what does that statement have to do with anything? Mai kamahadrile. What were they responding to? He told you it says O, wild animal, O, a bird. So it divides it up, and they respond this verse. So what's the conversation? So haki kamrile rabbanan. This is what they meant to say. Hai O. So. Hai o mi baile lechalik. Haki kamar le'Rabbanan. Hai o mi baile lechalik. The rabbis told Rabbi Yehuda that this O that you used is really, if you didn't have O, you would have thought that you only have a mitzvah to cover the blood up when you slaughter both a wild animal and a bird. Therefore, O comes and says, no. Even if you do one of them, you're still obligated in covering the blood. But it does not come to tell you that if you slaughter both of them, you have to do two separate coverings of the blood. It just comes to tell you that you don't need to do both in order to have a mitzvah of covering the blood. Even if you do one of them, you still have a mitzvah to cover the blood. That's all that O tells you. And so that's how they responded. And now, Rabbi Yehuda says, no, that idea is lechalik midamo nafka. That idea that you're not obligated in both, I can learn out from midamo nafka. So it says in the verse, kinefesh kol basar damo, its blood, meaning each time its blood in the singular is spilled, you have a mitzvah to cover the blood up. So the rabbis say, no, its blood doesn't refer to only in the singular, it can refer to the plural as well. It's v'rabbanan damo tuva mashma. Its blood can refer to a lot of blood, not just this animal, but can refer to many animals. How do I know? Dichsiv ki nefesh kol basar damo benafshahu. The living soul of all animals, so damo benafshahu. Its blood is in its soul. And here it's not referring to one animal, it's referring to all the animals. So therefore, that damo is not available to teach you what is not able to teach you that. Rather, we hold that the O teaches that. So after all the dust settles, according to Rabbi Yehuda, it says chaya o, a wild animal or a bird, which teaches you that each one has its own obligation of covering the blood. The rabbis say, no, the O teaches you that you don't have to slaughter both of them to have a mitzvah of covering the blood. Even if you slaughter one of them, you have the mitzvah. If you happen to slaughter both, it's only one covering of the blood. And according to Rabbi Yehuda, it'll be two coverings of the blood. Yeah. Okay. Now, according to Rabbi Yehuda, you're slaughtering your wild animals and your birds. And you're going to end up doing two coverings of the blood. What about a blessing? Amr Rabbi Chanina, Moda Hayir Rabbi Yehuda, Le'inyan Bracha, when it comes to the blessing on the Shechita. So now here's, thank you very, very much. So what's happening now? You have a wild animal, you slaughter the animal. Now you have to cover its blood. then you go and slaughter the bird. You have to cover its blood. But one second, before you do a shechita, you make a bracha. You make a bracha on the shechita. So in between the two slaughterings, you had covering of the blood. Does that mean that the covering of the blood, let's say you do the wild animal first, then you make a bracha, ala shechita. You slaughter the wild animal, you cover its blood. Now you're going to slaughter the bird. Do you need to make a new bracha on the shechita? Is the covering the blood an interruption? And there's if making a new bracha or not? That's the question. So we say only one blessing. Even Rabbi Yehuda, who says we require a new covering of the blood, and therefore we're going to do it right now before you slaughter the next animal, says that one blood, it's only one blessing. So now we're going to ask, what's the difference between this and a halacha in the rules of making brachas on food? So, how does this differ from the students of Rav, who said the following? The Rav Bruna and Rav Chananel were both Talmidei de Rav, students of Rav. They were sitting at the meal. Kayim alayhu Rav Yeba Saba. Rav Yeba, the elder, said, Rav Kayim alayhu Rav Bruna, Rav Chananel, Talmidei de Rav, Havu Yasib Sudasa. So Kayim alayhu Rav Yeba Saba. So Rav Yeba Saba. He was the servant, so he was serving them. So Amruleh, they said to him, you know what? That's enough. Hav levarich. What we say nowadays, Rabbi Sayin levarich. Elders, let's bench. Or Nidas Rabbi Sayin mirfil and bench, and we want to bench now. So what? Why do we say that? So back in the day, and even nowadays, actually, if you say that, that signifies that your meal is over. Once you say that, that means you want to bench now. Benching is for sure the end of the meal. Once you say it's time to bench, your mind has already concluded the meal. And therefore, if you want to go eat more food now, so simply understood, you got to make another blessing. Because right now you've ended your meal by saying it's time to bench. So they told him, Hav livarich, let's bench. So Hadar Amruleh Hav lishti. Then they told him, hey, we want to drink. So, well, yeah, too bad. Amar lahu Rav Yeba Saba. The problem with having a religious waiter is he's going to tell you that you made a mistake. Yeah, so he's much firmer than you. Yeah. So Amar lahu Rav Yeba Saba Haki Amar Rav. This is what Rav said. Your Rebbe Rav said, Kavan to Amar Hav Levarech Itzer Le Lemishte Kamra. No more wine for you. Once you said that, because once you said that, that's already signified you want to finish the meal. Once you've seen that you want to finish the meal, so then you have to make a new bless. So then you can't drink anymore until you bench. Now, presumably, you can make a new blessing on it. Yeah, make a new blessing. Right. You have to make a new blessing on it. Yeah. So okay. So what is all for? Because for us, hachanami kevan de itfal leile kisui ichayev leile bracha. So say the same thing over here. You did a shechita, then you covered the blood. So let the covering of the blood be an interruption between shechita 1 and shechita 2, and therefore when it comes to shechita 2, make a new blessing. What's the difference? Very interesting answer. I know I thought I had a simpler answer, but obviously I'm wrong. So haki hashta, that means it needs more looking into. But haki hashta, are these two things comparable? Covering the blood to saying let's bench. Hasam, and on the next page, Hasam mishta ubruchi behadi hadadi lo efshar. I know it's a very interesting answer. There, you can't drink and bench at the same time. Meaning once you said we're benching, that's it. You're done drinking. So what do you mean drinking? It's a contradiction. Let's bench, let's drink. That doesn't work that way. It's a contradiction. So therefore, once you say that, it's going to be an interruption. However, so here you're able to slaughter with one hand and cover the blood with one hand. So therefore it's not an interruption. So meaning I don't think I think it just means, maybe I'm wrong, but I think it just means that it's just a sign, meaning when you're covering the blood that doing a shechita is possible even simultaneously. Not that you're going to do it at the same time, but you know that it's a possibility. So since it's a possibility, you could shecht and cover the blood. The covering the blood is not viewed as an interruption to the shechita, because what's the contradiction? From the Gemara, it sounds like if it was impossible to shecht and cover the blood, that would be an interruption. But since it's not impossible, therefore, when you're covering the blood, you still have in mind the shechita, and it's every moment that you're covering the blood is still considered a proper time for slaughtering. And the proof is, if you want to slaughter right now while covering the blood, you could do it. So it's just a way of saying that each moment of the slaughtering is of covering the blood is still a time of slaughtering. There's no break. There's no break. There's no and if there's no break, then there's no reason to make a new blessing. So yeah. Okay. Now, shachat velo kisa, a guy slaughters and doesn't cover the blood, and you're a bystander, v'ra'u acher, chayav lechasos. It's not a halacha on the person, it's a halacha in the blood, has to be covered up. So if it's a halacha in the blood, it has to be covered up, doesn't matter who does it, anybody got to do it. Kisov in his gala. What if you covered it, but then it got uncovered? You covered it, and then your kids took all the dirt and made a sandcastle. And now the blood is there. Pater milechasos. Exempt. Meaning you did it already. You covered it up. Once again, very interesting. We would have thought, whatever the reason is, we have this mitzvah, but you got to do the mitzvah. So if it got undone, it got undone. Nope. It got undone, you filled your mitzvah. That's it. Kiso haruach chayiv lechasos. If the wind covered it over, it's the other way. You're still obligated to cover it over. So you see, there's something about it. It's not about the blood being concealed. If it was all about that, then both of these halachos would make no sense. If it's all about the blood has to be concealed, if it got undone, so then covered over. And furthermore, if the wind covered it over, so you'd be good to go. But no, you have to do your mitzvah. So, okay. So now, yeah. Okay. So now, Taner Rabbanan v'shafach v'chisa, mishe shafach yichasa. So the one who spilled, cover over. It says spilled and then covered over. So the one who spilled it, cover over the shochet. Let's say shachad v'lo kiso v'ra'u acher minayin shechayav lechasos. Why does it obligate me, the bystander, to cover the blood up? The Torah says the one who spills it covers it over. So it's because shenemar v'omer livnei Yisrael azhara l'chol b'nei Yisrael. This warning was given to all the Jewish people, and therefore every Jew is obligated to cover the blood, even the one who didn't spill it. Now, presumably, one could ask, if this is true, so what's at the first exposition? The one who spills it, cover it over. Why? It's a mitzvah for everybody to do it. So you have to say, I guess, ideally we want him to do it. The obligation starts on him. It's like the mitzvah of bris milah, the Gemara and Kedusha learns out. The mitzvah is really on the father to do. So, okay, if he's not available, so then all the Jewish people are the ones that are obligated to make sure that this child gets a bris milah. So too, but of course the first thing goes to the father. So if he can't do it, he makes a shaliach to do it. But if no one's available, then the whole Jewish people are responsible. So to here, ideally it's a guy who's slaughtering it. If he books town and before covering it over, then everyone's obligated. Tanya Idach, another Brisa says, this concept comes up in numerous places, that you spill and you cover over. You cover over with that which you spilled, meaning you have to bend down and use your hand because you slaughtered with your hand and not kick it with the dirt and cover it over. So, why? Very interesting. General concept that mitzvahs should not be disgraceful to you. If you have a mitzvah of covering the blood, by kicking it, you're making the mitzvah disgraceful. Kicking with your foot, well, it's a mitzvah. You have to treat it properly. Even if it's a mitzvah with dirt, doesn't matter. Bend over and do it. So this is they bring this Gemara in different places where you have certain obligations that you can't treat mitzvahs disrespectfully. You have to respect the mitzvah. Tanya Idach, another brisa expounding the same verse. V'shafach spilling over the blood and covering it over. Misha shafach hu yichasenu. The one who spilled has to cover it over. Okay, that we just mentioned. So let's see. There's a story where a guy one time, this is the too extreme. The guy loves mitzvahs too much. So you're the shochet, you slaughter the animal, you're bending over and not using your leg like a good boy, and a Gleizer comes quickly and covers the blood instead of you and runs away. Right? So now, so what happened? I now owe you 10 zehuvim. There's a knas, there's a punishment, a penalty they imposed, which is brought down. The thing is, penalties nowadays cannot be enforced unless you have a smicha going back to Moshe Rabbeinu, which is there's interesting controversy in Tzfas in 1500s about reinstating the smicha. It's the whole thing about it. But so therefore, we don't collect nowadays. We don't enforce that. We can't enforce it. However, it is brought down. The Ramah does bring. But so let's say I go and I steal your mitzvah in this case. So we can't. You go to court and the court tells you, I'm sorry, we can't enforce it because we don't have smicha. So then you go to my house though, and you take 10 zehuvim. Halach is I can't get it out of your hands. It's rightfully yours. That would apply nowadays. But this halach is not only by here. It's I have in my head that it applies by if you steal someone's aliyah. If someone gets called up, you run and you say the bracha. Also 10 zehuvim. So 10 you get a punishment for stealing a mitzvah. So now we're going to ask Ibailahu schar mitzvah or schar bracha. So is it only for stealing a mitzvah, or is it also? I don't think it means, or it's for stealing the bracha. I think what it means is it only for the mitzvah or also for the blessing? Says Gemara, what does that mean? L'mayin afkamina. What's the practical difference? The birchas hamazon, one mitzvah, 4 blessings. So Jules is all excited. He sponsored Shalosh Shudas. He's going to lead the benching, and Steve starts Rabbi Sainav Arech with a cup. Everyone sponsors him. So now, and we finish benching. He makes a bracha B'rei Priyagafen. Oh no, not Shalosh Shudas. Sorry. Yeah. So now Jules knows that. Listen, we can't go to the court and impose the law on Steve. But the question is, how much are you going to go to his house and take from him? 10 zehuvim or 40 zehuvim? It's too complicated to explain to his wife what you're doing there and why you're taking money. So just leave it. So send her the link to Daf Yomi. So l'mayin afkin the big one. Iyam schar mitzvah achasi v'iyam schar bracha havin arba'im 40 zuz, 4 blessings in mention. So what's the halacha tashmat amrei humina? Interesting story. There was a heretic. Yeah, here it says. Yeah, it really says tzeduki. Tzeduki, they put in someone who doesn't believe in oral Torah. Le Rebbe, he asked Rebbe. He said, "Look, it says in the verse. Yeah, it says in the verse. Where's my verse? Oh yeah. It says the verse says. I'm just going to read the verse in Amos. Kihine yotzer harim. Behold, the one who forms the mountains, who borei ruach, and creates the wind. He's the one who's going to tell a person what's going to be what's going to be. So says this Tzeduki to Rebbe, look, 2 different gods. Because one word is formed, right? We say in davening after Baruch Hu, Yotzer Oru Borei Choshech. 2 different words were for creation. Yotzer is forming, Borei is creating. So says the Gemara that the guy told Rebbe, look, Misha Bara Ruach al Yotzaharim. Oh, the one who creates the wind didn't form the mountains. Dichsiv, Kina Yotzaharim Ubar Ruach. So he tells him back, Amrle, Shota, you fool. Yeah, shuffle is safe for the crop. Look at the end of the verse. Hashem Tzivako Shmo. It's all God, it's all the master of the legions. But the end of the verse is saying everything that we just said is all God, one source. Not 2 sources, not 2 different people, 2 different powers. So Amarle, the Tzeduki told him, listen, give me 3 days, I'll get back to you. Nakali zimna tlata yomi, umahadarna lach tiyufta. And I'll give you an answer to this question. Okay. Yosef Rebbe tlat tanisa. Rebbe sat for 3 days fasting, hoping that the tzedukah won't get a good answer. So, Kihave Kabayi, Mivra, when it came time to eat. Yeah. Mivra. So, Amrule, they said, oh, Mina Kaya Ababa, look, there's a tzedukah, there's a heretic at the door. So Rebbe thought it was the same one. So Amar Vayidnu Bebruche Rosh. I wasn't sure what they wanted from this. I hope you give me some bitter food. How do they translate this? What'd you say?
Gold.
I mean, he's asking that they should put something in his food that's disgusting, as like part of I mean, he didn't want to eat now because it sounds like he wanted to keep fasting because now the guy's at the door. Now it turns out it's not actually him; it's actually another heretic. So they always like the rabbis, yeah. So Amar Le, Rebbe, Mevaser Tovos Anilach. No, I'm not Yankel, the one that was pestering you. I have good news to tell you. That guy Yankel. So Lo Matza Tshuva, your enemy Yankel didn't find an answer. And by the way, V'nafal min ha'gag u'met. He fell off the roof and died. So don't worry, you're good to go. So Rebbe tells the guy, look at this not kindness of Rebbe Amar Lo, Ritzon Chashatisodetsli. Listen, you bearer of good news. Would you like to come and partake in my meal with me? Amar Lo, hey, I would love to. Now, La'achar she'achlu, Rebbe didn't. After they finished eating, Rebbe sounded there's a third person there too. Rebbe did not want this guy to be part of the Zimun, part of the three people. So he gave him an offer. Amar Le, listen, Koshel Bracha Tashosa, you want to like be part of the, Koshel Bracha, part of the Zimun? Or you know what? I'll just give you 40 zuz. Oh, our buying's at a notel. So careful what you offer. Amar Lo, Koshel Bracha Nishosa. No, I'll take the bench with you. Shoot. What an honor to bench at your table. Wow. So, Yatz the Baskol, a heavenly voice came out and said, Amra, Koshel Bracha, Shava Arbayim Zehuvim. You see from the story that he's going to pay him 40 Zehuvim because that's how much it costs. Because we don't just go after the mitzvah, we go after the blessings, and there's 4 blessings in benching. So it's really 40 Zehuvim. Amr Rabbi Yitzchak. Rabbi Yitzchak says, Adayin Yeshal Osa Mishpacha, Bein Gedolei Romi, that family of Tzedukim, they're very prominent Romans, Vekorin Osa Mishpachas Bar Livyanus. And they go by the name Bar Livyanus. Okay. Not sure what we're adding there, but that's what it says. What is Osa the Lions? Is there a footnote like why it's there? Like
the name Son of the Lions is a variation of Leo or lion in Latin, with the lion alluding to Rebbe, the scion of Judah, whom Torah calls a lion cub. Thus, the Sadducees' rise to the prominence in Rome resulted directly from the fame he gained by dining with Rebbe.
Oh, well, listen, I mean, eating with Rebbe got you fame.
Yeah.
Wow, got a VIP. That's right. You have to be a prominent Roman official. Oh, that's right. That's right. Yeah. Promise he's too nice. Like a lot of people eat with him, So he doesn't charge. So people live at his house. So Ama Kiso Vinizgala. The blood was covered over and then it was uncovered. So you covered it over and then it got uncovered, you are exempt. Okay. What's the difference between this and returning a lost object? Amar Mar, Hashev. Okay, maybe better to close your eyes, but you're prohibited to do. But Hashev afilu me'ap amim. You got to return it to fill in even 100 times. There's no limit. You got to keep going. Try. Because it says Hashev, return it. It doesn't tell you how much. Keep going. So to here it says v'chisa. You should cover it over. Keep going. It's in the middle of a storm. Too bad. You're gonna sit there and you're gonna keep bending down, using your hand, not your feet, and keep doing it. Amar le, no. Hasam lo ksiv miyuta. There's no limitation on the verb. It just says return. There's no limitation. And you should cover it over. So only cover it sounds you just have to do it once and you have to do it again. It doesn't say vikisa, it says vikisau. Should cover it. Once you covered it, then you are good to go. Kiso haruach, once the wind covered it over, you're still obligated. Now, Amar Rabba Bar Chana, Amar Rabbi Yochanan, says the name Rabbi Yochanan, Lo Shanu Ella, Shechazer Ben Izgala. Aval, Lo Chazer Ben Izgala, Pazer Ben Lechasos. Interesting. When the wind covers it over, it's only, you're exempt if it remains covered over. You're only obligated if it got uncovered. So I misspoke before. Aval Lo Chazer Ben Izgala, if it just remains covered, then you're exempt. What are you going to do? The mitzvah is to cover the blood. It's covered. What are you going to do? So there, you're exempt. Now, says the Gemara, that we have a concept we'll see now from korbanos. This we know already, that a korban, once it became invalid, so then when it becomes valid again, it's still invalid. Once it was invalid, it's invalid. So say the same thing over here. Once you were exempt from the mitzvah, you're exempt. The mitzvah's gone. Sorry. Amar of Papa. Oh, we see from here a debate. That's a big debate among commandments. If you have a commandment that there's a moment in time where you're not obligated, you're exempt, and then a moment later now you're obligated again. Are you still obligated? Or are you exempt? Amar of Papa. From here, Zos Amaris Ein Dichu Eitzel Mitzvahs. You see from here that there's no, so to speak, from here there's a good source that there's no pushing away the mitzvahs, meaning even if you're exempt, it's covered over, but it gets uncovered, you're still obligated. As opposed to a sacrifice that it becomes invalid, and just because it becomes valid again means you are that means that the offering is invalid. But by mitzvahs, even though you were exempt, you're still obligated. Okay.
So you use your hand. You touch it.
You touch the dirt.
You touch the blood.
No, you just cover the blood.
Just hold your hand over.
And you take the dirt and you put on the blood.
Oh, you're talking about putting dirt on the blood.
Yeah.
It's not his hand. So, okay, when he says the hand covering the blood, he means he's grabbing some dirt.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. What's the difference between this following brisa, the Tanya, Hashochet v'nivla dam bekarka, one who slaughters, and the blood goes into the ground, chayiv lechasos. I don't understand. If the blood's in the ground, how are you obligated to cover over the blood? We just said that if it's covered over, you're exempt. Says the Gemara, no. Hasam kisher rishumo nikr. As long as you could see an imprint was left of the blood in the dirt, that's still enough. That's still going to obligate you to cover it over. Okay. Now there's going to be a lot of zvachim. Dam shenis arab b'mayim. I asked about the case with the fleece that went into the water. You said right when you put the dirt in. So here. The next Mishnah, every time. So Dam Shenis Arev. The reason why it says in Pirkei do the Mishnah first, then the Gemara. So you don't sound like me. So Dam Shenis Arev b'mayim, when you have blood mixed with water, im yeshbo maris dam chayev. So now you have blood mixed with water. So if it has the appearance of blood, it still has a redness there. You're obligated to cover it over. Okay, so how are you gonna do it exactly? It's mixed with water. How are you gonna cover it over? From that story, it sounds like you were exempt. That was the whole advice over there. Here, it's telling you obligated. You have to know how that's going to fit in. Fine. So, yeah. So, okay. So that's that. Nis'arif b'yayin ro'enoso ki'ilu humayim. Now, here's the case that we had in Zachim was if the blood gets mixed with wine. So now what do you do? Nis'arif b'yayin. So we do this thing called a rowan. So you see, if the wine would have been water, that amount, would there be an appearance of the blood, or it would be too diluted and it would lose its appearance? So it's red with red. So you can't see right now, but you have to figure out how much wine is there, and if that was water, what would happen? So, and then you figure it out. If it would have been water, is it going to remain blood? Liable. If it's going to remain appearance of blood, liable. If not, exempt. Nis'arev b'dam ha'behema, or it's mixed with the blood of an animal. Next page. O b'dam ha'chaya, or with the blood of a wild animal. Rono so kilu hein ma'im. Look at it as if it's water and figure out the ratio if it would have remained the appearance of blood or not. Rabbi Yehuda Omer, and this is his opinion. Rabbi Yehuda says always that when you have two things that are the same species, so then they don't nullify each other. They remain separate. So Rabbi Yehuda Omer ein dam mevatel dam. When you have blood and blood mixed together, they don't nullify each other, and therefore, even if it looks like blood, the blood of the wild animal is not going to be nullified. So even if you have a lot, you have a 99 to 1 ratio. I don't know. You have a, let's say, a 40 to 1 ratio, a 30 to 1 ratio of wine to blood, but it's not going to nullify the blood, as opposed to other opinion says it is going to nullify. Depends how much wine you have. You have enough wine that if it would have been water, it would nullify it. So right now it nullifies it. Rabbi Yehuda says, "Ein dam mevatel dam." Blood does not nullify blood. Dam hanitas va'ash'ala sakin chayiv. The blood that gets spurted out outside of the pit. So usually it sounds like you dig a pit and you're going to check the animal. The blood's going to go into the pit. That blood you cover over with the dirt. Ooh, it got late. Okay, we'll just finish the Mishnah. But if the blood went outside the pit, you're still liable. And we saw the blood on the knife, you're also liable to scrape off and cover over. Rabbi Yehuda, a Masay bizman she'ein shamdam elahu, aval yesh shamdam shelohu pater mi lechasos. Rabbi Yehuda says you're only obligated when it's just this blood here. But if there's other blood there, not this blood, then you are exempt from covering it over, and we'll see what that means tomorrow.
How much blood are we talking about?
That's a good question. However much comes out of the animal.
I mean, are we talking about 2 quarts? Are we talking about just a dribble? I'm just curious what a big area, what this entails.
I'm going to ask Raya Weissman and get back to you.
Okay, thank you.